Welcome to the BroPolar Disorder Podcast. We have another exciting episode today.
Kind of exciting.
Why is it just kind of exciting?
Well, I had this really good idea, and it would have sent you through the rafters. Like, you would have been so mad this whole episode, and I would have probably blacked out for sure. But the coordination and timing didn't work out, and it was a lot harder of a project than I anticipated.
Shocker.
I originally had decided, because you knew we were going to be covering Julius Caesar today.
Yes.
But what you didn't know was I was going to go rogue and cover a completely different topic, which was one of the topics you were going to do, the Skostra.
Why would you do that?
Dude, I had it all lined up.
Why would that be a good idea?
Because look at your reaction already. This would have been a great... I really should have done it. It's just...
Well, that was the first thing I was going to do because you chose the Falk Monster.
Yeah.
And you were wanting to go down like a cryptid or kind of just like this.
Yeah, we wanted to start a little bit with kind of wild...
Yeah, the legends type of thing.
Which I'm feeling a calling back to, so maybe next episode.
I see that one person makes the decisions in this podcast.
So anyways, I would do the Falk and you were going to do Skostra, which is like not even a cryptid, but more of a paranormal story from like Viking
she's
lore.
Like a ghost succubus or something.
Yeah.
Like not...
But it was a lot harder research than I had imagined. There was a lot of differing sources that had like very kind of almost opposite things of what the Skostra and like represented. So I was like, man, this is going to
Where's it from? Sweden?
Sweden, but there's like a Norway version that's slightly different than Sweden's version. And unfortunately, they're big enough you would have to talk about both. And I just didn't have the time to make it happen. But yeah.
And you were going to just...
I was going to completely... I was going to sideline you. And you would have been so mad.
Because... I mean, I would have been irritated because you pulled a whole stunt for over an hour. And now I have to riff off of your stunt.
And we had talked about like not doing one that you didn't know the topic on, like a little bit, like kind of like you wouldn't research it, but you'd at least know what we were going into. And that would have been hilarious because we had a very like, hey, this needs to happen. And that would have immediately violated it. So today we're going to be talking about the first 60 issues of Spawn.
We're not... We're going to try to talk about Julius Caesar. The page flipping was what I needed. How are there... Okay, we're talking about Julius Caesar today, right? And he was captured by pirates.
Yeah, so the crazy story, he was captured by pirates.
Yeah. These desks, each episode, get closer and closer as I inch my way to strangle distance. How are there 60... what is that? 60 volumes of Spawn?
It's 60 issues.
Issues. Oh, those are just comics.
Yeah, so it's the first 60.
That's the entire collection of Spawn?
Well, just the first 60. They're at like 350 now.
Why don't you have the other 290?
Those are just critical reads.
Okay.
I don't know. I just had the first 60. I'm sorry. Do you want to cover it? We can get back into it.
I'm not going to cover Spawn. I mean, you might as well because you were going to do Skostra and now you want to do... I don't know anything about either.
I just thought it'd be hilarious if you came in here and you're like, the best part, dude, I was telling Sky, I was dying laughing. I was like, I'm pretty sure he bought like a Julius Caesar shirt for this. It would have been
I did. He's riding a skateboard. Found it at Old Navy.
Been even more funny that you had an outfit for this one.
Thought about bringing the toga. That would have been... Now I'm prepared, though, because if you do that to me on another episode...
You won't be prepared.
I won't be prepared because I won't have any
But now
idea
you're going to live in
is.
fear. Either way, I strike. But
yeah, well...
We've had a lot of awesome feedback from a lot of people that, one, I didn't realize were even listening. And it's cool to hear like the feedback from y'all. So that's been like a huge like...
I've actually noticed over the last week we've had more comments and people that that I do not know or are not really connected to anybody in my network. Mm-hmm. So that's really good that more people are seeing it and We really appreciate all the subscribes, the comments, the likes.
Yeah.
Definitely make sure to subscribe if you like the content. If you don't, you should also subscribe and then fight us in the comments, because either way, it's all about
subscribe
the
and then just
algorithm,
DM
baby.
Chad on what he's doing wrong. Because obviously,
And I think
not
that
me,
that's directly related to the amount of episodes we pump out. So
yeah, so it's been really
It has
cool
been
to
good.
hear like people, send us feedback on it. One thing I did get feedback on that people had really I guess it made me feel really good, because I was having kind of a manic down time for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. So it's been kind of like a little rough
these last 2 weeks, you hide it really well.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a minute. So.
Yeah. Oh, the masks Nick wears. I don't wear those masks nearly as well, but I'll let you finish your.
Yeah, so I mean, one of them was, I guess being open with it, and I guess I need to clarify some things too. I'm not comfortable, just talking about it a lot. So I find comfort in knowing that maybe I can help someone else. But
You're not comfortable talking about what?
a lot of the bipolar, what I go through, it's not that I won't talk about it, because I 100% will, especially if it's going to help someone. But it is something that I still feel a little bit of that stigma. It's just it always creeps up. I don't know if you go through the same thing when you have to talk about some of the stuff you're going through, but you kind of still are I don't know. I don't want any of the attention on me or focus on me. I just kind of want to, I guess, hibernate a little bit and just be away from everything and kind of have that solitude for a sec and kind of just get my base back. But it's hard sometimes, because doing this, you definitely put yourself, I guess, more out there. And there's random coughs from my children, but I don't know. You feel I it is still a stressful thing. I am not, I guess, as natural or comfortable behind the camera and mic,
Okay,
and so I guess I get a little bit, not afraid, but I feel a little bit weird sometimes when I'm talking about it, having, some of these issues.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, because you don't want to come off oh, I'm talking about it because I want attention, or for it to become a constant theme, because we could technically sit here and talk about all the ups and downs every episode, talk about anxiety, talk about depression, talk about manic episodes, talk about all these things all the time, beat a dead horse over and over again. And not that that's necessarily wrong, but when you're constantly, that's not our whole life.
Yeah.
And that's not, we're not necessarily a help channel. We're just
for sure.
two
Definitely
people.
Not
Well,
do not follow.
a cry for help channel.
Yeah, exactly. My beard is crying for help. This thing is ratchet. It is
looks
looking
fine.
terrible.
It used to look really bad. We'll get
All right,
to that.
keep going.
But we're just, it's like a day in our life. And we do go through different periods where, it's good for us to talk about it as brothers, because that's our normal conversation. This podcast is really what our normal conversations are like anyway. And I personally have had a lot of ups and downs. And right now I'm kind of, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, you're almost, I don't want to say it's out of body, but you're a little bit on autopilot, right? It's hard for me to
You're going through the motions.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard for me to have a high emotion. I feel great. Everything's gonna be amazing. But I also, and I think it's, partially attributed to the amount of crap I've dealt with over the last 6 months to a year. I don't have those low lows either. I mean, I have built up, above some of that stuff. So I find myself constantly in the middle, which can be a really weird place. So I'm not as humorous or funny or fun as I'd like to be, but I'm also not depressed
Yeah, and I have a hard time
it's-
too because I hate it when I'm going through like manic periods when people can obviously tell that I'm not,
Yeah.
and everyone wants to like, like what's going on, what's bothering you, and the hard
Like
part
you?
the hard part for me, yeah, exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Nick accuses me
I was
every time.
getting there,
What are you
dude. I
fighting?
was
Are
getting
you
there. You're
fighting
just
with
trying
mom
to
and
take
dad
away.
or
Now you're
something?
trying to take away my fire. Thanks.
No, you do it.
No, so I was getting to the point that someone had reached out and had kind of like we had gotten into a little talk about how sometimes it's hard, like especially with like the bipolar that I suffer through. There's not always a trigger. So like, there's a lot of times where everything is going really good for me. I'm having a great day. And then it's just like it gets sapped out of me. Like something is taking away all of that happy energy. Something's like dragging me under the water. And I could feel it coming and I just can't do anything about it. And then people are like, what's going on? Like what, Sky is amazing. Like she's been amazing through all of this. She's a big reason I even went and, got help. But for her, like it is hard because she just wants to help, and so she's like, what happened? Like, what caused this? And it's frustrating sometimes because you're like, nothing, like it's perfect. I know it makes zero sense to people, but like everything's going great. It's just like, I can't, for some reason, there's like a disconnect.
Like it just sits there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm like completely like,
Now, when you feel that though, do you feel that like you can identify it as you're down? Like now you feel down about things, or kind of like what I was saying where you're just kind of there. You're just like, it's not like things don't matter to you, but you kind of like all the old like 90s music videos where like they're like just standing there and everybody's passing them and they're just like
black hole
going.
sun. It's just like I'm just saying they're just get like the fish eye, like the little bowl,
exactly
the mirror ball. No, like my big thing is like, so with my bipolar, there's highs, and those can be just as damaging as your lows, like because you feel almost indestructible. Like people will spend a lot more money carelessly. And I don't really, Sky keeps me in check with that stuff, but I could easily like just blow tons of money on comics if left unchecked, which, I keep myself in a pretty good check by just looking. I hate spending money. So, but that urge is there to like go do something. Or my big problem is like when I'm like just riding the highs of this, and I'm like way above what my normal personality baseline would be. I like agree to a bunch of things. Like I'll try to sign up for like classes, or I'll try to sign up to like, learn something on Udemy or something. And then like that high comes right down like, nah, so I just wasted $40,
It's like this, right? Can you see my shirt?
Seize the day.
Does it say seize the day or does it say carpe diem?
It says seize the day.
Oh man, I thought it said carpe diem.
No, they translated it for Old Navy's purposes.
Yeah. If I had bought this at Versace or something.
Oh, damn. Yeah, it would have been carpe diem.
I can't afford that.
Yeah, so I just like, I guess my message for that is we had kind of like the big thing on, like, I guess if you're with someone who suffers from bipolar or, some of the depressive, like, just like the biggest help for me is like being surrounded by people like I love and I care about a lot. And, like Sky isn't like pressuring me to like, I guess like immediately be better.
Like like just
like,
be better. Look like what
no matter, and it's frustrating for her. And so I get frustrated with myself because, it's your loved one. You want them to be better. You want them to feel better.
Right, because they probably see that as a reflection of themselves.
Yeah, they want to make sure they're not doing anything to like trigger these. But that's the unfortunate part. And that's where it gets frustrating with something like this is like there was no trigger these last like week and a half, 2 weeks. Like, I mean, good or bad, there really wasn't anything that like snapped or like, like caused that like downward sensation. But so back to like the message at hand, I think like people who have been asking me, and we had some some people who help, someone in their family with bipolar, and like sometimes the best help is just letting them know that you're there for them and that you love them, and like, hey, let's do something, or like, hey, do you want to like watch a movie, or we don't have to talk. We could just, I'm in the same room as you hanging out, and just feeling that presence there that like you're not alone. You're not like, facing this by yourself is a lot of times a huge pull for me. And so to relate this back to where we started, I got those like flood of messages, a lot of it was, hey, I've actually suffer and I've been afraid to get help, or, hey, like it's kind of tough, talking about this stuff, but it is like relieving to hear that people are talking about it, like that other people go through this stuff. And that's where I go back to like, I do want to put it out there. I'm not always like, gung ho, like let's talk about Nick's problems today.
No,
so
I've gotten pretty good about being transparent about stuff. About just I'm okay to talk about stuff that really affect me. I just got better at that. I think a lot of that comes from like being kind of forced into situations like that with like faith and being in church in different groups and stuff. You find that it's much more constructive for yourself when you're transparent about things because one, you immediately find out you relate to a lot of other people that are like, oh, I can't believe they're also going through something. The audacity, right? But then you realize, like, okay, I'm actually getting to the root of an issue for me.
Yeah.
I'm actually discussing the things that are bothering me, and I'm not just touching the surface, which I know just puts on it's just another mask when you don't actually dig it up and get at it.
Yeah, I have a hard time because I don't want to bring people down with me, like
that's hard.
I want to recover. Yeah. And so I know that to recover, I need to just start facing, embracing being around others, not letting myself hibernate, because if I hibernate, it like prolongs how quickly I can kind of start trying to come back out of that a little bit. And so like, getting to go to the gym with you, or,
that's
now I have
favorite part of the day right now.
Oh man, that's, and we're heading back down. It's not always a trigger, folks, but sometimes there is one.
No, but we talked about that today, that like I haven't enjoyed going to the gym for like a year or a year and a half. I took like 3 months off and I used to love it. And I do.
That's about the time we started lifting.
I like it as what?
That's about the time we started lifting, actually.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I wasn't even here. But I started realizing, like, I don't know. I just, as things, more things in your life pile up, it's like I never really saw the gym as an escape. I saw it as like something I was like excited to go do.
Yeah.
Not to really escape, but as part of my life. But now it's like one of those things where like it has become one of my only escapes. And I think I get on my head about that. And
I think it's hard too, because you used to do, that was your career. So
also true. Yeah.
If
but
you're
now
there
I'm trying to scale that back and transition into a different, career. And yeah, so I think the thing is I like that we can talk about it, and I like that this podcast is that way. It's not, we obviously don't want people coming here because they see us as an authority on the subject, because that's not it. But I want people to get hope from it, that like you're not the only person dealing with this, and when you can listen to two people that seem pretty regular, like pretty normal brothers, goofy brothers together, like that they're just coping with certain things too. Like you can lead a quote unquote normal or happy life alongside whatever is afflicting you. And I think that's powerful, and that's probably why. And I've heard people say, like, I feel like I'm part of the conversation. I feel like I'm there with you guys. It's fun.
That always feels so good.
That's exactly what we wanted to create. And when somebody, for all the funny parts, definitely, but also for these times when we can talk about things that, bother us, or
and because someone had said, like, it had been so long, they had been suffering without getting help, and that's what I was trying to like remind them. It's like, I did the same thing, and I'm hoping if we reach someone at an earlier point, they don't have to suffer as long,
right.
Kind of like the, a big fear for me is like, okay, I go get help and it doesn't work. Then what? You know, what am I left with? You know, what, you know, in my head, you know, I'm painting this as a way to get out of going and getting help. You know, it's like if I get help and it doesn't provide the help that I need, then what? You know, like I've already done the.
You're almost accepting.
I've already pulled
scenario.
I've already pulled my parachute cord. Nothing's deploying. Like, well,
right. Well, I can't. I can't face that reality, so I'm not even going to step.
Yeah,
into the
and so it's like,
scenario.
okay, well, I'm just going to get better myself. I'm going to see how far I get, and I can only relate this because maybe, you know, I've had to diet a ton in my life, but it's like starting a diet. You know, it's like, okay, I'll start on Wednesday. You know, I need to get myself right first before I start on like going to the gym.
Right,
Or I need to start. You know, I'll see what I can do eating healthy before I hire a trainer. You know, it's like,
I see.
Okay, well, there is someone there though. Like you've done this for years now, Nick. Like there is someone there though who's trained in this, who's gone to school for this, who's educated in these issues. And, you know, and then it's crazy because, you know, I finally go and talk to someone. I was really like terrified. And then like everyone, like I start talking about it a little bit more, you know, like poking my head out, like what I'm suffering with. And I find out there's so many people that are suffering through the same stuff. And, you know, there's a lot of people out there with bipolar. There's a lot of people out there with, you know, all sorts of different mental, you know, setbacks. And so it's just like one of those things that I don't feel so isolated. And that's been very helpful, you know. So it's been really nice to talk to people when they send me messages like, hey, I absolutely love your podcast. I'm like, oh, what's your favorite part? It's like, I just love that I can come there and it feels like I'm there with y'all. And I suffer through a lot of the same stuff. So getting to laugh and kind of like take that like hour off, like it feels so good to hear that stuff.
So what do you think about people with freckles?
Well, you know,
like we talked about that a little bit last time.
We had gotten into quite a few altercations
about freckles.
Well, you used to cheat all the time. If we, all right, let's do a little quick.
I was told they were angel.
This is the last anecdote, and then I'll get right into the story.
Questionable angel kisses.
I'm gonna do this little anecdote, and then we're gonna go into Caesar. All right, we're gonna do this little story.
Caesar. Okay, it actually took me a second.
I was joking with you the whole time before this.
What's that?
I don't know. I just wanted to say Caesar.
It's like redneck, but it's not.
I know, it's a little bit off. But anyways, so back to freckles. Chad was a hyper competitive child. Hyper competitive. And I remember we lived in Vermont and we were playing in this like toy room. And we moved all the toys out of the room. And it was a little bit larger of a room. And I think I was like 8 and you were like 6 maybe. And we were playing kickball up there. And Chad was infamous for creating. He was the like Roger.
This is about to just Chad, say that I created a bunch of rules.
Chad was the Roger Goodell. Chad was the Roger Goodell of rules. And about as fair as Angel Hernandez on the calls.
That's uncalled for. Don't you ever call me Angel Hernandez.
And I would get so mad at you, though. I would get so mad that you'd be like, nope, doesn't count. Like, you hit this ceiling tile, and that's the ceiling tile that, you know, we can't hit, so you're out.
Oh, stop. Don't make me have to do some freaking... No, it wasn't like that.
And I used to get so mad.
Shift the momentum of a game by making, not a rule, but like a clause in there that like...
Yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about.
But like to say you couldn't hit a ceiling tile?
It was close to that specific. But most importantly, though, like I get so mad and I'd be like, you're a cheater. And I'd be like, oh, you got all those freckles. You're a cheetah. I was like, Chad the cheetah.
That's
Chad
what you called me, Chad the cheetah?
Yeah, because you always cheat. It has
to do with my freckles?
And you cheated. So it's like Chad the cheetah.
I don't know why I didn't think you would stoop that low.
Well, I
never thought that but then Mom started calling me Chad the cheetah.
Well, that's between you and Mom. We've never had official.
I thought that she called me that because I was always very fast.
That's why we called you that.
You're such a
No, that is why
you
we
started
called
with you. You judged me by my skin.
No, you used to cheat so bad, and it was such a fitting moniker.
A monocle?
I said moniker. I don't even know if that's the correct word, so I'm just
I
gonna
don't know.
pray that it is.
I'll bleep it out.
Oh my book. Oh, there's
I'm
with
sorry.
40.
Don't hold a sail behind my.
Oh
no.
Oh, don't worry. That's from 1960 something. It'll buff out.
2.5.
So, all right, let's get on to Julius Caesar for these awesome folks who've been so patient listening to your terrible Angel Hernandez days.
It's $100.
Yeah, it's a nice comic. It's the first
It's
appearance.
8.5. It says.
Yeah, it was an 8.5, and now it's like a 6.0.
None of this stuff is mine behind me. The Hulk is.
Yeah, you got the whole.
I'm not even the comic guy.
I know, but it looks cool.
It does look cool, but I don't have anything.
I asked you if you want to take it down, and you said no.
I don't want to take it down, otherwise it would be blank.
All right, so Julius Caesar. This is before.
Okay. Do people know who Julius Caesar is?
Yes.
We're assuming because
Emperor
I know people that
of Rome.
I promise you. Okay.
One of the greatest military minds ever. Okay, that's the big ones. If you need more on that, I don't have it for you because this is prior to him being emperor and great military leader and great. He was probably working his way in philosophy and stuff, but he's just a noble at this point, which I guess is, obviously much better than being most other classes at the time. But he was on. This info comes from. This is cool too because the source is Plutarch of Chaeronea, a well-known Greek philosopher who gained notoriety for writing biographies and moral treatises, which I guess is just kind of like the social contract kind of stuff. I imagine moral treatises. But he wrote the biography on Julius Caesar.
What year?
I don't know, but but this story comes from 75 BC. So this is when
the story itself comes from.
This story specifically comes from 75 BC when Julius Caesar was crossing the Mediterranean Sea. Now, a little back on this, Sicilian pirates had infested the Mediterranean Sea. Rome had kind of ignored this issue because these pirates were kidnapping people and then selling them off to the Roman senators for their plantations. So they would be sold into slavery.
Like the gorilla.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? Like the FARC? In North Colombia, Venezuela?
No, the
gorilla.
Don't even start. I know the guerrilla armies and stuff, but
yeah, but that's like the main thing. I know people that their family.
You said I know people
that were
killed.
Oh,
okay, on the bad side.
Kidnapped.
I was worried that you would say you know people in that side.
Conned somebody else into trying to save that person, kidnapped them as well. They disappeared.
That's crazy.
Like 25 years ago. It's
crazy stuff.
I mean, I've never, in the regions I go down to in Colombia, I'm not really, that's really more close to the Venezuelan border where they can hang out in the rainforest.
At least if someone does approach you, you'd be like, have you seen, I'm a famous podcaster, you seen BroPolar disorder? And you just got to pray that they don't see our subscriber.
Yeah.
Is there another account? Is this a backup account?
Yeah. So you're not a fake account?
They're just going to feel bad and kick you loose.
Yeah.
He's trying.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, they were selling these, I guess people they were kidnapping into slavery. And they'd be working the plantations in Italy for the Roman senators. So because of that, Rome's kind of turning a blind eye to the piracy. They're not really messing with a lot of the trade as much. So it's not costing them money. And so they really don't care.
Right, because they're not attacking transport of goods.
I think they're doing a little bit, but they're not doing it in a way kind of like what you think of pirates in the Bahamas.
Yeah, they're not stealing.
They're not hitting direct trade routes consistently of the empire, And so because of this and because the senators are benefiting from this and they've turned a blind eye, as Caesar is crossing the Mediterranean, he's on his way to study oratory, which is the speeches, the kind of famous, using logic to present your argument.
Like a Socrates.
Yeah, so
Just that
was a great reference.
Yeah. If anybody got that reference, touche.
Yeah.
It is obviously Socrates.
But he was on his way to Rhodes when he was kidnapped by pirates in the Aegean Sea. Road.
Yeah.
Not the same movie, but RomanEmpire.net, which is Roman-Empire.net, which is where I got a lot of this stuff from, but states that the pirates had put a huge ransom on Caesar, and the ransom was for 20 talents. And I know it was an insane amount of money
like
today.
A hawk's talon?
No, talents.
Oh, talents. Oh, like biblical talents.
Yeah, like
that's
silver.
honestly what the talents were actually money.
It is a lot of money. 20 talents is a lot of money. That's all I know. I don't know the translation to today's.
But they knew he was noble when they got him?
They knew he was important, and they knew he was a noble. And at this point, to their credit, they don't know who Julius Caesar is going to become.
Right.
But they do know that they have acquired a legitimate, we're going to make money off this. And so they put out 20 talents. And this is where Caesar loses his mind. He says, that is a ridiculously low number for someone of my stature. You need to raise that to 50 talents. And he just kept insisting that they raise the ransom on his own head to 50 talents.
He's got an image to keep.
Yeah, and so they do this.
How smart is that, though? It's like, now.
Yes, and this is going to play a huge part because he's already establishing himself. I'm above you. I am above you.
Julius.
You have lucked out and you have kidnapped me, but do not get this twisted. I am above you. No matter if I'm your captive or I'm your ruler,
Right.
I am above you and I will be treated as such. But they were laughing at first, but they eventually, he keeps insisting they raise it to 50 talents. They're like, okay.
So they do.
Yeah, and so he would keep joking with them on the way back to his place that they have him now, but someone's gonna pay his ransom and he's gonna come back and kill them. So enjoy your time with me now. And so they're just like, who the hell do we they're all laughing. They think this is this dude's hilarious, and so they're laughing. They think he's jesting,
He's just dead serious.
Yeah. So
he had that look in his eyes.
So they get to this island. They get to this island where he's held captive, and right away he forms kind of a schedule for himself. He spends his time in captivity, increasing his abilities and increasing his
What's he doing? Training?
He's literally exercising, and he's exercising, playing sports. He's writing poetry, but most importantly, he's exercising with the pirates. He's playing sports against the pirates.
Let's hear it for the boys.
Dude, I would
love a sound.
Dude, the whole time I was thinking Top Gun. They were playing the beach volleyball. This super 90s, no shirts. It was just chiseled.
Val Kilmer makes a reappearance as Julius Caesar.
Oh my gosh.
So he was hanging out just kicking it with the pirates?
But the whole time, and it's important that they note this, that he acts superior to them. When they're playing sports, he's going all out. He's letting them know he is superior in every way. And so he's exercised him, and he's practicing his leadership skills on his captors who have him held captive. He's practicing his leadership.
It's like an internship.
Today.
You don't get paid.
He's writing poetry. He creates oratory where he place for him to publicly speak, and he makes all the pirates listen to him. In my head, when I read this, imagine being the pirates, yeah, we're pirates, we do crazy stuff. And then now you're forced to listen to a 6-hour, 10th graders presentation, speech after spech. You're just stuck.
No. That didn't come out right. Let me revisit it.
He's got different speech themes. Betrayal is the cruelest human act known to man. That would be his speech theme.
Do you think they understood him at all, though? I mean,
I want you to know when you stopped laughing there, it completely wrecked my entire personality. I guess Thank you, test subject A. Let me delete that from the script.
Oh, stop.
Thank you, test subject
I was
A.
picturing
Listen.
him speaking.
Deleted. All right, let me try this one.
Oh my gosh. Wait, you created a repertoire of lines for this oratorium?
Oh my gosh.
Once again, I typically keep everything.
I had also put that he was treating this more like Ben Stiller from Dodgeball and like the Globo Gym. Like, we're better than you, and we know it. All right, test subject B. Thank you. That one's the one. All
Michelle.
Right.
Do you think one of them was named Michelle?
Yeah. Great
yeah,
stuff.
I mean, I could definitely see that, like, nobody makes me bleed my own blood type of situation where Julius Caesar is just...
I want to know what sports they're playing.
I mean, all I can think of in that time would have had to have been, like,
Beach
Olympic
volleyball
stuff.
Oh, yeah, Olympics.
Beach volleyball. We can't... I appreciate the Top Gun reference, but it would have to be, like, track type stuff, right? I mean, swimming, track,
I don't know.
running,
play games,
wrestling,
and sports. Yeah, wrestling.
He wrestled him. How big was Julius? So there's no way this dude was big.
I don't know.
What did the biography say?
I could look it up. I only saw the bust of his head. That was all they showed, Chad. I don't have his, his draft reports.
They named a hairstyle after him. It's actually not a style. It's more like a point of receding.
5'7", a respectable height.
There it is. And there it is. Quite the athlete, Nick says.
Someone say he's a little tall.
Yeah. For a Sicilian.
Oh my
When
gosh.
death is on the line.
Oh.
He was Sicilian too, right? Never.
It's funny that
never play. What is it with? Never play cards with a Sicilian, or what is he? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Find the
Princess Bride.
I know.
Don't.
Give me find the clip.
Don't find it. I don't want to quote it. That's what I picture Julius Caesar looked like.
Never get in a land war. Oh, that's such a great movie. I want to cover that in one of the podcasts.
The Princess
at some
Bride
point.
is
There's so many cool things
movie,
about it.
yeah.
But yeah, so and then not only is he like working out with these cats, he's beating them in sports. He like demands that they treat him with more respect because there's like they obviously are trying to snap it back like, hey, you're not in charge here. And he said, no, I'm like, you will treat me with more respect. Like that's,
Yeah.
And he just keeps demanding it to the point where they do. And he actually somehow gets like a servant who like kind of takes care of what he needs as like a captive. So
right, he established a hierarchy in order.
I just think it's so crazy too. Like he was that good at like, being a politician. Really, I mean,
oh yeah,
he manipulated everyone around him to do what he wanted them to do. He has them playing games and doing sports, which will build a little bit of camaraderie and like they said, the natural like leadership that he's getting to display to them. They're not seeing him as someone who's far below them, like they probably are used to treating these people. Like they're saying, like, "Oh man, this guy he's legit. Like, you better treat him good." But the entire time, he's also saying, like, "Hey, I'm gonna get out of here, and I'm gonna come back and kill all of you. So enjoy this."
And that's a card that I feel like he could play because if he's dead, they won't get their ransom money.
And I think if, obviously he's emperor, this is a different conversation completely. I don't even think the pirates would take him. But at this point, he's not a nobody. He's definitely an important noble, but he doesn't have the ability to just, command an army or command, a navy. He's just a no. He doesn't have the rights to do these things. Like if Rome had decided, hey, they've kidnapped a noble. We need to send everything. And So
because you're right, because he can't just rain down fire on these.
Yeah, he doesn't have.
Nobody's
He's not
like,
the emperor
hey,
yet.
our commander is missing.
Yeah, he's just a noble at this point.
A noble is missing. Oh no, bull.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but like they're not gonna send the brigade. They don't recognize his relevance.
And obviously they don't really know he's missing. Because
empire.
he's not, that thing. But so the city of Miletus, I believe it's called Miletus, but a lot of stuff is happening here because they're securing the silver for this. So they're getting all this damn silver together. It was like 50 talents. Like, oh my gosh. And so they're trying to get all this silver ready. And
that's where he's from?
No, this is just I think maybe a closest port or whoever they took this ransom note to. But they fulfill, the ransom. And so they, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't have an emperor. But they come and they get him and he returns to Miletus. He immediately starts.
Did they just drop him off at port, the pirates?
Yeah. So then he immediately starts what any future emperor of Rome would do.
With the boys.
Yeah, he let's rally up. And now he starts recruiting ships right there at the port. He's just walking up and down, getting people like, yo, I was just kidnapped by pirates and we're ending this. And I'm sure they've had to deal with these pirates. They've been.
Right.
So everyone's on board. So like, yeah, let's go get them. So he gets a whole fleet of ships. So they go down there and they kidnap these pirates.
How long was that after he was kidnapped?
Immediately.
Wow.
He returned and then immediately went to work on raising a little naval fleet to go down and kidnap these pirates. Well, demand their
purely
surrender.
Civilian fleet.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't say like if I'm sure that there was some kind of like legionnaires. I mean,
oh yeah, I guess that's true.
But it's still crazy because he doesn't have the military command to be like, okay, you're right, with me,
because he can't technically tell anybody what to do. He can't command something. He can't give an order. Yeah. He's convincing people of his cause.
Exactly.
And that's interesting.
So then they get these pirates, they bring them back. And now the pirates now must meet with the, I think what the title was. All right, the Roman governor of Asia. That's what threw me off. So the Roman governor of Asia is the one who has to see, not really a trial, but like these pirates come in and they have to speak with the Roman governor of Asia. And it's up to him what happens to these pirates, not Caesar. And so the Roman governor of Asia is like, this is annoying. This is really just a dispute between a noble and peasants. Like, this does not need the authority of the governor of Asia. Like this Caesar, like go, no. And so he's just going to release him. He thinks it's annoying and he's just going to release him. Well, Caesar catches wind that he's going to release him. And so he decides that's not what they're going to do. He's going to go pick them up and sign those, prisoners out in his name. And so he does. He signs all the prisoners out in his name. They're leaving. And then he marches them down to the beach where he promptly crucifies all of them.
He crucified them?
He had them all crucified.
What year is this?
75 BC. He kept good on his promise.
Beach?
On the beach.
And they're like, I thought we were teammates.
The Island Cup meant nothing to you.
You were our libero.
The Island Cup meant nothing to you.
The Island Cup meant nothing to you. He's just got flashbacks.
When we counted off A, B, and we were aligned, yeah. I thought there was something special there.
That's so weird. They had to have had like some weird friendship, and then he's like,
I think that's the weird part too, because like the whole time he's like, I'm gonna get off this island, I'm gonna come kill all of you. And they're like, kill all you. They go back. They're like, they're over a beer. He's like, that Caesar dude's pretty cool, man. Good call on Caesar.
They're all sitting there. He's like, hey, you remember when he said he's gonna kill us? And then his buddy, I thought you said he was joking. Well, they probably wouldn't be able to say much.
Mark, you said this was a stupid idea. You said this was a stupid idea. You don't get to say he's cool now. But yeah, so I mean, and the effects of this, because there are effects of this, and because it's in this, bibliography written, by like the guy who writes all of the bibliographies at the time, this Plutarch. It's considered a very true story where things are kind of like, this is from 75 BC. So this story has been told a lot without, like a lot of the documentation, but they believe this story to be
where did they get the information?
But Caesar was known to embellish some of the elements while he was, talking about this with his, military as he's emperor, this help. So some people think that
I was the greatest player on the island.
he was like kind of excited to be, I guess, like have this happen to him because he could use it as a way to like push his political game. Like, oh yeah, they kidnapped me and I took care of business without any help from the Roman Empire. True. Like, they thought I was their captive. Like the whole time I was running that island, right. I was the warden. So
I said, wow. They said, wow. They couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe how amazing I was. The best.
So, yeah, there's absolutely crazy. You hear Julius Caesar, emperor, kind of like this, like, I don't know. He's such a legendary status, and like he's like one of the most historically important people of all time from what he's like contributed in the world as far as like all the footprints he has on major moments in history, and also setting up for some of the biggest stuff. And to think like pirates had him kidnapped, at one point, right? It could have been completely a different world. If, he's on the island and he's like, you're going to talk to me better, and they just cut his throat or something. It's like, how much the world changes if, this whole incident wasn't played perfectly by Julius Caesar.
Right.
If he didn't play this perfectly and truly believe himself to be better than these people, like he truly, didn't just play the part, he believed it. He was the part,
He didn't just survive, he thrived.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like,
he matured on that.
But that could have been the difference in him living and dying in a lot of cases. Obviously they want the ransom money, but
I think it
these
just
can always go crazy.
If he was just a survivor, he would have got off, and they would have paid the talents. I don't know.
Talents.
They would have paid the talents.
Mm-hmm.
And he would have just scurried on home and been like, okay, I survived. I can go back to my noble, comfortable life. They're going to kidnap somebody else. I'll complain. But no, he's like, go time. He took that situation. Not like I'm an advocate for Julius Caesar. Not necessarily. I think there's elements of what he did for civilization, like Rome.
Yeah, I mean, he's just important for world history. I mean, he also became a tyrant towards the end, but, so.
But I do think that it's pretty impressive to step up and see, like, almost, like, own the moment, like, see it not as a curse, but an opportunity. So, just to seize the day, carpe diem, to be, I think you almost have to be the future Julius Caesar, right? It's just a precursor to who you're going to be. Yeah. And it establishes that. And then he probably built so much confidence, he probably felt invincible after that.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And then
I think he was probably on the island and they were going to kill him. And he was like, wait. Before you do that, Jeff, and then he reaches down into his sock, and he's like, I have an idol I found. I have an idol, and it saves me from this elimination.
Survivor. Wonderful. You think he pulled out an idol
And he
at the tribal?
He had to put his hand on his buddy's back, who now got blindsided.
Who now got blindsided? Boston Rob. Pulled a Boston Rob, didn't he? Oh my gosh.
The tribe has spoken.
You won 100 talents.
But yeah, so I mean, just an absolute crazy story. Like,
it is crazy. So they were on an island most of the time. They just took them to an island. They weren't just sailing around. Obviously, that would probably be very high risk, but for the pirates, so they just took them to an island.
It would have been better for
volleyball.
The collage of footage for their, Top Gun, the volleyball right into the sailing.
He's like a sail. It's like the intro of like an 80s like family show.
And he's just chopping lumber back on the island for no reason. There's just whole stacks of it. Oh man. Yeah, so
dang. Well, that's a crazy story, but a great, I think it makes sense. Great precursor to who he was always going to be, it sounds like.
Yeah. We really look forward to like hearing people's feedback on this one too. So let us know if it's a story that, you hadn't heard before, or if you had heard, like what your take on the whole situation would be.
I would say 99 out of 100 people have not heard this story.
Yeah. I would say a majority, because props to him for keeping this one, going. But he did so much as an emperor that this is definitely not something that's consistently covered.
Yeah, it overshadows this event, because this event alone would be something to talk about.
Yeah, this is a massive
nobleman
ordeal,
did this. But when you're Julius Caesar, like all your accolades beyond that, and it maybe it's a little far fetched. Maybe there's some fable in there. Maybe it's a little tall tale, but we don't really know. 100%. He kind of like that guy that broke his head. We don't know if that's true either.
Yeah, that was a cool one. We were going to do the intro, The Father of Tragedy.
What was his name? Achilles?
Yeah, Achilles or something.
Achilles.
And
Grecian guy.
There was a story written by a later, comic, but that, a bald eagle had picked up a tortoise, and, eagles dropped them on rocks to like break the shell to eat.
Right. So eagles from like a really high altitude. Well,
and he was bald. So
drop a turtle so that they crack the shell on a rock.
Yeah. And so he was bald. So the story is that the eagle dropped it on his head and killed him. But then
the first bald joke ever.
Yeah.
Brutal bald.
It was
joke.
A brutal one too.
Because they weren't even waxing them back then, were they?
Yeah, that was like
was just pure shine.
If you go up the line, that's like Norm Macdonald's like direct descendant. Only someone so bold to do an after death joke of such brutality.
Yeah. The father of tragedy and irony. That is wild. Imagine getting crushed by a turd.
Yeah. Like Mario Karted.
he got Mario Karted.
Green shell to the dome.
But think about how, it probably bashed his, like...
Yeah, if that was true, that would be
died.
Brutal.
I feel like it might be partially true if he died.
That's the problem with some of these is like 70,
Well, it's not like,
BC.
he was, in their, infirmary or whatever. He died. It's probably a documented... Something happened. And they found a turtle, obliterated shell, and this eagle just, I didn't see nothing.
Eagle's flying, turtle's just like,
I ain't do nothing. Exactly. They're like, what happened here? Well, it's almost like the staircase. You remember that staircase?
I never even saw what the ended up, if he was the one who killed her, or I don't even.
He ended up getting off because... there was too many theories about it. There were scratches in her skull and there were feathers in her hair. I am prescribed to the owl theory. I think it only makes sense because they couldn't ever recreate the damage to her body with a murder weapon going down the stairs. Like, it would have been very brutal, but none of the blood, like the blood splatter, like they ended up having like
If I was the lawyer, I'd be like, Your Honor, in episode 1 or 2 of BroPolar Disorder, he had a very specific hatred towards owls. He's obviously trying to pin this on the owl community.
Not much of a Harry Potter guy either. No, it's fine. But I think like the blood splatter didn't like there was some controversy there on like the conduct of the blood splatter. Team.
I'm gonna be honest, I forgot we were talking about the staircase for a sec. So I was thinking about the blood spatter after the tortoise. It didn't do that. I was like, it didn't say anything about the blood splatter. I don't even think they even cared about that.
Yeah. But I think it makes most sense that it would be an owl that killed her. But I'm not going to speak for the dad. If he killed her, I'm not saying the owl did, but it seemed like that's where the evidence was pointing.
I hope you're gonna look out your like car at night driving. And you're gonna see an owl. He's just like,
and then all of a sudden I'd like turn around. There's like 5 owls behind me.
They're not doing anything. Like they're just being.
It's that one owl's initiation, and I'm the subject.
Yeah, blood in, blood out.
Owls are creepy, man.
I know. We're gonna go back to your phobias on owls.
I don't have really.
I've never really had too much beef with
owls.
Owls. Really.
I don't like green witches. That's a phobia, or like talking animals that are clearly humans, or like talking human metal. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's not one thing in that movie that doesn't.
I hate lions without courage.
Yeah.
For someone who hates the movie, you just did nail that.
Yeah. I've seen it. It's almost like, you have to watch. Like I don't, if it's on, like I'll be like, why do I hate this so much? Like, why is this? It's like but when you watch it and when something just gives you the creeps.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely.
And almost, I remember hallucinating once as a kid. Like I used to have those night terrors and hallucinations.
You used to sleepwalk like crazy.
Yeah, and we could talk about that in the next. But I remember I hallucinated during the Wizard of Oz movie one point. So that's not helping the cause. I also hallucinated during a Frosted Flakes commercial. And I'll never forget that.
I just remember every time Wizard of Oz would come on, anytime the witch would come on, you would jump off. Remember there was like that bluish couch. I don't even know what texture of a couch that is.
It was like a velvet, like a fabric, like a fake. I don't know.
It was like
the one Virginia Beach, the gray blue ones though.
Yeah,
is that what you're talking about?
From the early 90s, but you would jump off and hide right behind that couch, and then make me tell you when the witch was gone. So
I actually do remember that
this movie.
And the monkeys. I hate monkeys too. I don't like monkeys.
Oh, just
like
now?
Real monkeys. You do?
Yeah, we went to that. Where we
what
got to
about
hold
them
the
is cute or fun or funny?
They're pretty funny when we got to hold them. They're
too intelligent.
You tried to steal Sky's earring.
You trust hilarious. That? Like that? Something's going on.
Oh, one peed on my hand, so.
You think they're like they're acting stupid,
there.
Nick? I think they're going, and then Planet of the Apes, and they're like they think we're stupid. Still.
They're gathering recon. That's where they steal the technology.
We could take them. There's not a chance.
I don't know. Did you watch the trailer for the Planet of the Apes? They've already lost.
They suck. They're not. I could kill an ape.
Not if he has an A10. He's just flying an A10 war.
No, if I have an A10, I'm talking about human technology. I cannot kill an ape, but if I was in an A10 warhog, I could.
Yeah, next time we're going to have to talk about that Tyson story you're telling me about where he wanted
to fight
that
the
ape
silverback. Yeah, we'll talk about that next
gorilla.
time.
Yeah, he wanted to fight
and probably like some of my sleepwalking hallucinations.
You can't fight him. I'm going to fight him.
I'm going to fight him. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate everyone. So definitely reach out and let us know what you guys are, thought about this episode. And I really appreciate all the awesome, words of encouragement and
thanks for all the feedback
that we've gotten. It's been really cool just to hear hey, that was a cool episode, or oh, have you guys thought about doing this? And I love hearing especially if it's a story I haven't heard of, and someone's like, hey, have you heard of this story? I'm like,
100%. And if you're dealing with something. And you just want to kind of quasi hang out with a couple of guys that are always also dealing with something. That's what we want to be.
Yeah.
And make sure to subscribe so that you can continue to join in on the fun.
Yeah, and our Instagram too. Follow that one because you.
Oh yeah,
you do make a
we'll
lot
post
of cool
like little reels
and stuff that are pretty funny and interactive too. I like those because then people can comment right there. Like
It's quick.
Yeah.
The YouTubes are awesome. The Spotify's awesome, but like the Instagram, like that's really kind of like the melting pot, and then people go off and like the true fans watch the whole episode on YouTube, right? But like just checking out the reel, then you may go catch a few minutes of the YouTube.
Then you
during
at least
your
have
work
enough
day,
ammo to when I'm like, hey, have you checked out the podcast? Be like, yeah, I love this scene and this scene.
It's like, so you watched the trailer to the movie.
I'm like, cool, I appreciate it.
It's like when you ask somebody if they've seen Office Space and like, yeah, where's my stapler? And you're like, okay.
Any other lines?
Thinking ghetto.
Any other lines?
I'm thinking like PC load letter.
Just punching them.
Yeah. Anyway, well, thanks for tuning in, and we cannot wait for the next episode.
All right, have a good night, or day, or morning.
Well, yeah,
It's
have
night
a
for us.
good time.